Good morning. How are you guys today? Good. Who likes birds? I really like birds. Donna, where's your hand? Okay, you got to raise your hand too, okay? Because I know you like birds. All right. So there was a man who lived in a jungle. I assume it was in the Amazon, somewhere in South America, because South America is where they have the most parrots, right? They have some in Australia, but South America, they have a lot of parrots. And so he was in the jungle, and he found a baby parrot. So he brought it home, and he named it Polly. Now, parrots, you can't really look at them and tell if they're a boy or a girl, at least some of them, especially the white ones. You don't know. And I knew a parrot once that was a girl, but she was named Cowboy. So this parrot was named Polly, and it says it was a girl, but who knows? Anyways, Polly lived in their house, and they didn't have a screen on their window, so Polly could go outside or come back in. And the man, he liked to go sit down on the dock by the river and drink alcohol, which is not good for us, and Jesus doesn't want us to do that. And he also liked to gamble. That meant he would say, I bet that dog can run faster than your dog. And so they'd put money on it, and somebody would win, and somebody would take the money. And Jesus doesn't want us to gamble. But a man came in a mission launch, a big boat, and treated them when they were sick. And after they got better, the man came back and he showed a picture, a slideshow, and told the story of Jesus. And this man decided to become a Christian. And so he started reading his Bible. And instead of sitting down on the dock and drinking alcohol and gambling, he was working very hard in his field to take good care of his family. And his wife would always work very hard to make sure that the house was ready for Sabbath. And I have to read the words because I don't speak Spanish, so I have to remind myself what it said. So she would go up to where the parrot was, and she would go to dust the perch, to clean the perch off. And she would say, Vamos prepara a casa, a mahara y sábado. So she'd say, we have to prepare the house for Sabbath. And every Friday she would tell this to the parrot. And she noticed that the parrot could start saying these words back to her. So she started saying, "In pecado jugar bojardo." It's a sin to play cards. And she'd tell the parrot this over and over and over. You have to clean the house on Sabbath, and it's a sin to play cards. And pretty soon, Polly learned that she could say these words back. So she would shout, Vamos prepara a casa. Mahad y sábado. You have to clean the house for Sabbath. And then she learned, what was that other phrase? Jugar a pecado. Jugar a pecado. It's a sin to gamble. And one day, Polly went out on a flight. Now, parrots know where they are, right? They fly through the trees. They know where home is. So maybe she got lost, but more than likely an angel told her where to go. So up the river she flew, and she landed outside of a house. And she saw a house, and she went, they have a parrot perch in that house. So she sat in the tree all day, and she looked, and she looked. She wanted to make sure there was no other parrot in the house. And by evening time, she was getting hungry. So in the window she flew and landed on the perch. And the family said, look, it's a parrot just like Pedro. And somebody must have lost it. And the little kid said, Mommy, can we keep it? She said, well, we'll have to find out if someone lost their parrot. And so they fed Polly, and they called him Pedro, her Pedro. Boy or girl, we don't know. But anyways, they called this parrot Pedro. But Polly didn't mind. And so one day the lady got out her dust rag and started to clean the house. And the parrot said, I know what to say. I have to look again. And she said, what'd she say? Vamos prepara a casa, a mahad y sábado. And the lady said, what? What is this bird talking about? And she would say it over and over. She's like, that is very strange. What is this bird talking about? So then one day, the man, the husband of the house, came home, and he and his buddies came, and they went out on the porch, and they got out their cards. And the parrot looked out there and shouted, what did it shout? Jugar a pecado! Jugar a pecado! Dan, you could probably help me out with this. But anyways, I slaughtered it. So said, it's a sin to play cards. It's a sin to gamble. And the men stopped and they went, "What on earth is that bird talking about?" And the man, he got annoyed. So he went inside and he got Polly on his hand and he took her into the bedroom and he locked her in a cage and put a blanket over the cage because he didn't want to hear about how it was a sin to play cards. And this kept going and going, and all his friends would say, like, "Why is your bird still shouting at us that it's a sin to play cards? And why is your bird shouting that we have to get ready for Sabbath?" And they said, "You remember that man stopped on the boat and he gave us some medicine when we were sick? I bet that's his bird because he keeps Sabbath. And I think those Adventists, they don't drink or play cards. You should flag the boat down." Well, the man, he was tired of this bird yelling at him that he was sinning. So one day he saw the mission boat, so he ran and he got something white and he went down to the riverbank and he waved it like this. And the boat came over and they said, "Are you sick?" He says, "No, come here." So they turned off the motor and they came up and he was feeling a little bad. And they said, "Are you sick?" He's like, "No, nobody I know is sick." He says, "But I have your bird." And the boat captain said, "You what?" He says, "Don't you prepare the house on Friday for Sabbath?" "Yeah." "Don't you believe it's a sin to play cards?" "Yeah." "Well, I have your bird." He says, "I don't have a bird. What are you talking about?" He says, "Son, go get the parrot." And so the son runs back to his house and comes back with Polly on his hand. And by then, a lot of people, "Oh, what's going on?" So there's a whole crowd of people. And he says, "Tell the bird to talk." And so I don't know what they did, but the parrot yelled, "Vamos prepara a casa, amahari sabado." And then she looked around and she realized that there was a lot of people there. And so she screamed, "Vamos a prepara a casa." And then she said, "Hogar pecado, hogar pecado." Is that it? Yeah, pecado. "It's a sin to play cards." And the missionary said, "Yeah, it certainly looks like that bird belonged to a Seventh-day Adventist, but it wasn't mine." He says his wife was a nurse, and she was listening too. And he says, "Do you know anybody that had a parrot?" She says, "There's that family up the river that had a parrot, and they keep Sabbath. We should ask them if they lost their bird." And so they went up there, and they found that, yes, Polly had gone missing. And the man was very happy to send the bird away. But he waited and he hung around until all the village people went back to the village. And then he said to the boat captain, "Can I talk to you alone?" And he said, "Sure." And he says, "Do you really think it's a sin to play cards? Do you really prepare your house on Sabbath?" He says, "Well, yes." And so after that, every time the boat passed that way, they would stop and they would get off and they would have a Bible study with the man and his family that Polly the parrot had preached to. So we're going to talk about words in the sermon because Polly, even though she was a bird, she knew words that were important. And we can speak important words, kind words, nice words. So I want you to listen because there's going to be a few more stories, not about parrots, but about people in the sermon, okay? You can go back to your seats now.